When I want to make a bunch of cards and need inspiration, I visit my Pinterest boards and pick a sketch or an idea to get my designing mojo going. I am making 100 cards or so, all patriotic, for all the veterans on my brother's honor flight. And I went to my sketches Pinterest board for ideas on how to create easy but creative cards with 3 sheets of patriotic clear views transparencies. Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Hashik and I love to create cards with clear views transparencies. Clear views are pictures on acetate, and I'm lucky enough to live near the creator of them and a stamp store that sells them. I have links to in my description box to where you can get them and previous videos of mine featuring cards with them. I have this beautiful sheet of 8 patriotic clear views transparencies with sticky backing. And the first thing I do is remove the sticky backing and attach them to a piece of glittery cardstock. Now you can put them on plain white cardstock, you can put them on any color you want. You can also put them on gold or silver. There's lots of different ways you could do it. I like something with some movement or some pattern, a little bit of pattern to it. I tried some of these on gold and silver and they just got too dark. So I'm just using white glittery paper and attaching the whole sheet to that. And now you can see, like underneath, well, on the Statue of Liberty, on the white areas, but also on the blue and the flag, there is some glitter to that now. There's some movement, and I think that makes it very interesting. I had ideas for 3 of the clear views. So this one, I used this beautiful patriotic eagle and some favorite dies and made this card, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. On the inside I have "Thank you for your service," and so that's one of them. This one I used another favorite die, and I'm also using some paper I'll show you in a minute from a really neat set of patriotic papers. And then this one I used some pre-cut and pre-layered card bases that I had in my stash, and another favorite die. So those ideas I had. But then I had 5 more transparencies, and I didn't have ideas for those. So what I did was I went to my Pinterest board, and I have a particular board that I call Sketches and Examples. And what that basically means is that I like the idea of the card. I'm not going to totally copy it. But for example, this one has a really cool frame, and this one has another nice sketch to it. I'm going to show you how I was inspired by each one of these. I don't normally print the ideas I'm using, but I did just to show you the ones that inspired me. So for example, this card looks pretty neat that way, but when you open it you can see that it has a half of a gate, maybe you could call it, and the picture comes off of that. And that idea I got from this sketch here. So again, that's totally different than what I ended up with, but nonetheless this sketch gave me the idea to make this card. This one was made with this sketch here. So it's just a simple triangle, and then the featured element is in the center there. So that's what I did here. I cut a triangle out of some of this paper and put this Statue of Liberty with the Constitution behind it, and made this cool card using that inspiration. This one I cased this sketch, so it has the round featured element and then the sentiment on the bottom, and so I got that idea from that, and I really like how it turned out. To help me in making these cards, I have purchased 2 really neat patriotic stamp sets. One is called Home of the Brave from Tailored Expressions, and one is a set of really neat Perfect Sentiments, also from Gina Marie Designs. I'm also purchased, and I have links to all the products, of course, in my description box. But I got a really neat set of two-sided cardstock, two-sided on each one of them, from PhotoPlay, the Red, White, and Blue Home of the Brave collection. So many of the cards that I showed you, I used paper from this. There's the stars that I used, and also the stripes. So very neat paper that I found to do that. So again, these are the sketches that I've used, and I'm going to show how I made a couple other cards that were inspired by these sketches. This is the one that I took this really neat idea from. So I thought it was a really cool way to make a frame for that beautiful picture. And so this one I'm going to show you how I made it. I did use some Squares Crosshatch dies from Burniston. And the stars are from Lil Inker, and they are also stitched. And then I didn't have any more of these, which came from that paper pack, so I created my own. This rectangle die is like a wonky stitched rectangle die from, I know who it is, I'll find it in a second. Gina Marie Designs. Okay, so it's from Gina Marie Designs. And then this sentiment is also from Gina Marie Designs, that one stamp set that I showed you. So it's Home of the Free because of the Brave, which is just perfect. And I've prepared this part of it for to make this card. So I want the Statue of Liberty with the fireworks for this one. And I could just cut it in half. So basically I just cut all of these out roughly, and then I make a decision as to how I'm going to use them. And then I know I'm going to show you another card, and that's also going to, this is going to have the blue Statue of Liberty, so I'll go ahead and cut that one out as well. I have 3 sets of these Transparencies, and so I'll be making a bunch of cards with them. So our first step is to cut this out, and then I want to cut the length down to about 2 7/8. So I'm just using my Fiskars trimmer here. I might want a little more off the top on that. And now we're going to create the frames, and it's just a matter really of playing with them. The gold one's going to be like this. So the we start by putting this under, and then this over, and then this is over, but this goes under. And then this part goes over. So it's just, I mean, you know, you can do it any way you want. I just like to follow what the designer did on the sketch, and that's basically what she or he did. So anyway, like I said, I'm using this sketch for this one, and then for the second card, I'm going to use this sketch. I'll get that out of the way. So we're going to get this as straight as possible and as even. And then I'm going to use some thin ScorTape. Yeah, let's get it straight. Looks pretty good. To hold them. I should maybe have checked and seen, does it still seem straight? Not really, huh? This is I am just going to get it straighter. So we'll kind of start again. That looks a little better. Yeah, it's not going to help any. Okay, so the red, gold is straight. So those pieces were holding them together, and now I'm going to attach the beautiful transparency picture behind the gold. So I'm going to put some more of this skinny tape close to the inside of that frame. And those we're going to remove the liner. And then lay it on top of the transparency and push it down, and now we have a very unique cool framed Statue of Liberty with fireworks, and that is now going to be on the front of our card. So this card is complete. I wanted to make the cards relatively easy to make, as you saw, but still beautiful and something that they'll be very happy to receive. I'm making one for every veteran on my twin brothers honor flag. So that's one Pinterest card, Pinterest inspired card that I made. And here is another. As I showed you, this is an easel card. What I thought was different about this is that normally the easel cards that I've made have totally covered the card base, but this one was a little skinnier so you could see the background, and I just thought that was just a really neat sketch and something to copy to make this unique for the veterans. So I have the transparency ready to go. This Home of the Free Because of the Brave is from the Tailored Expressions stamp set, and I cut it out with a rectangle that is from Love from Lizzie. So again, I just think stitching or crosshatch or anything just makes it so much more interesting, and I rarely use my regular plain dies anymore. I have cut some pieces. This is the base, and it is 5 1/4, no, I'm sorry, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4, so like half of an A2 card. And this white piece is going to be under this transparency, framing it, and I will do that in a minute. This piece is 6 1/4 by 3 1/8. Now that can be adjusted according to the width of whatever piece you're trying to feature on your easel, and I wanted the transparency with a frame, so that's the size that worked for me. And then this back piece is 5 1/4 by 4, and I die cut out the starry background from Memory Box, and that's going to be on the back of the card. So the first thing we're going to do is score this piece, and we're going to score it at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. And this gets folded down, and this is going to be on the card base. I'm going to prepare this by cutting the card down to 2 1/2 by 3 3/4. Okay, so I do want the sides to be off. I mean, all those white pieces to not show, in other words. Whereas sometimes you put it under a frame and it doesn't matter. So this was 2 1/4, 2 1/2, right? 2 1/2, yeah, okay. 2 1/2, which is pretty much the exact size of that. And then we want it to be 4, no, 3 3/4. I keep losing that figure. 3 3/4. And then we're going to layer that onto the white frame. And that will be attached onto here. But first, we're going to take some strong tape. I use ScorTape all the time in all different sizes, and I have a link to where you can find them. And when you want good strong tape, that's the best. So this is going to be attached onto here. I'm going to try to line it up along the top and centered. And then this gets covered up by this piece. You know that when you use dots rollers like this Gina K, if you have holes or things that you really don't want them to be go through, they because they're dots, and I don't really know how it does it, it's kind of like magic, it avoids the spots that you really don't want it to show in. Whereas if you use the permanent, not the dots, those would show definitely through those stars. So I prefer the dots for most everything I do. Okay, and then we are going to use some even thicker, although I want it right on here. I want to make a mark where we don't want any tape above there. And then I have even thicker score tape. And the medium. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is to get the cover off, right? I gotta go. So this is going to be centered on here. And then this strip has been placed on pop dots, or pieces of the pop dot, what would normally be waste, but I don't waste any of it, of course. And that's going to be centered, and what holds up that easel, but you can still see the starry background there. So it will lay flat to mail, or to be placed in the envelopes for the veterans, and then stand up to display our beautiful Statue of Liberty. I love how all these Pinterest inspired cards turned out, and if you're not already a fan of Pinterest, check out all the inspiration on my Pinterest boards and the thousands available. Thanks for watching, sharing, and subscribing, and thanks too for helping me share the joy of creativity.